everyone. My name is Margaret Ford Fisher. Welcome to Credential Up Houston, a show that focuses on the power, the opportunity, the influence, and yes, the wealth that can come from credentialing up. The aim of this program is for the Houston Community College to be your resource and your destination location for education and training. Now, here is a fast fact question. Did you know that HCC will begin offering fully online certificates and degrees in the fall of 2018? Well, we will. And did you know that fully online credentialing is the vision of HCC Chancellor Dr. Cesar Maldonado? Well, once again, it is. Just imagine the significant impact that will be made throughout the city as more residents advance their education and training to meet the needs of the workforce. Well, today, we will focus on two themes: influence and opportunity. We have very successful veterans and active duty personnel with us who joined one of the 5 branches of military service. They have served the country well, learned a skill, and continue their education to complete degrees in many career fields. We thank them all for their service, and we thank them for giving back to others. Well, today we will talk about their journey, the influence of the military on their lives, the opportunity that they now have to serve the broader military family. My hope is that this program will inspire you and others to continue on your journey to success. All 5 branches of the military service are present today, representing the Air Force, Army, Coast Guard, Marines, and Navy. We will talk to both active and retired military men and women about their journey and the support provided to them. So joining us on this segment are Dr. Stephen L. Hall, United States Air Force, retired. He is a director of veteran and military affiliated student success at HCC. And Dr. John Stanford, United States Army veteran, independent businessman. And of course, we welcome you to our program, and we welcome our studio audience that is here as well. They will be participating in the conversation as well. Okay. So we're delighted that you're here. And we'd like for you to tell us about your journey. How did you enter the military? Was this a desire always? Tell us just a little bit about that. Dr. Hall?
I come from a military family. Aunts, uncles, grandparents, served in some capacity. I had spent a year in college and wanted to committed to the idea of serving something larger than myself, and came in 1980 after about a year of college. Education was obviously important. Went into the Air Force 25 years later, retired in 2006.
Congratulations, exciting. Dr. Stanford, how did you enter?
Well, like Dr. Hall, I also came from a military family. My brother preceded me in the service. My oldest brother, Abraham, served in Korea. My next older brother is Lonnie, served in the Navy. Then that was David in the Air Force, and Jonathan in the Army. Then myself and my younger sister, Gloria, served in the Coast Guard. So we're entirely military family. So 6 out of 8 siblings were in the military.
Incredible. So you had that influence as you were growing up as well. Mm-hmm. So tell us, how did being in the military influence your educational trajectory for both of you?
Well, for me, education was always important. I had spent a year in college prior to even considering enlisting, and so education was always something that was reinforced in my family all the way through. And I had devoted myself to a military career, which was not my intention. It was, 4 years, maybe use some education benefits. But life happens while you're making plans, and 25 years later, I'm retiring from the Air Force. Had over 100 semester hours and no degree, actually, at that time. So the message for me was to get back to school and commit my education and carry it forward.
Excellent. Dr. Stanford?
During my days at Tuskegee Institute, now Tuskegee University, I was enrolled in the ROTC program, the Reserve Officer Training Corps. And during my junior year, I had the aspiration to become a doctor, but at that time I had not made the necessary preparation to do so. So I said, well, I'll serve my time in the military, then get out and continue my education and get into medical school. Well, after a tour in Vietnam, My scores were not competitive. I went back and took the MCAT, and they still were not competitive based on the fact that this is some time removed, and there were a lot of other more qualified people. But one thing happened while I was in Vietnam with the 173rd. We had a motto in our unit is good, better, best. Never let them rest until the good is better and the best is best. So that kind of preceded my continued education. So once I left the Army, I continued to pursue education, first with a master's and then another master, then and so on and so forth, until I received the PhD. But I was always striving to improve myself, whether it was formal education, seminars, webinars, special training, anything that would get me to a better position in life.
And that really inspires, I think, a lot of retired veterans who want to improve their lives and listen to your stories and say, this is something that I can do as well. I have role models here. So as you look at your service to the larger family of military veterans, you're giving back. You're serving on national boards. Both of you are, I noticed. So tell us just a little bit about that, please.
Well, so for me, and I'm sure the doctor shares this same can agree with it. It's the military promotes the idea of lifelong learning. Everything you do within the military is competency-based, or you're heading to a technical school. All of these things are kind of built into the culture of the military itself. Fortunately, as I retired, most military look, whether they get out in 4 years or 34 years, whatever the case may be, they're looking to continue to contribute to society. And I was fortunate enough to fall into a second career in education. And I understood real quick in the civilian world how education is a key that opens the door, or indeed at times may keep it closed. And again, like I said, in order for me to continue to worthwhilely serve that population, the military affiliated population, is to continue to promote education, because I firmly believe it is a key that unlocks a lot of doors, whether it be credentialing, licensure, degrees themselves, and continue on that path of lifelong learning.
Absolutely. And with the U.S. vets, Dr. Stanford.
Yes, with U.S. vets, I got associated with them in 2009. And during that time, my daughter was working with them, and that's how I got associated with them. And when I found out what the U.S. vets were about, I decided to get involved with the Houston site. And from that, 2 years later, I was elected to the national board, and since then, in 2014, I'm on the board for U.S. Vets Texas.
Yes.
So all of those things, those organizations service veterans, including educational opportunities.
Absolutely, and this is so commendable, and I thank you both so much for your service. There will be an opportunity for further sharing during the program, but I'd like to thank you. Okay. We're going to take a break right now, and we will continue our conversation with more of our retired and active duty military personnel. Stay with us.
HCC. So many reasons, so little tuition. Register today at hccs.edu/now.
I don't know an industry today that doesn't rely on some amount of coding to run their business. Coding is the 21st century equivalent of the English language. And our particular flavor of this is the iOS Coding and Design School. And Apple's been very supportive and in fact joined with us to roll out the start of this Swift programming initiative. So it's a great opportunity to combine creativity with science and technology, contributing to this app economy.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Credential Up Houston. During the last segment, we had an opportunity to visit with Dr. Stanford and Dr. Hall, and one of the comments made is that education is the key that unlocks the door to opportunity. Well, we're going to talk about that during this segment. And joining us for this segment is Chief Petty Officer Quinnan Brown, U.S. Coast Guard, and Mr. James Mable, United States Marine Corps veteran. Thank you so very much, both of you, for joining us today. In looking at the research, the data indicate that under 50% of the retired or active duty military personnel make use of the GI Bill. So I'd like for you to talk about that because it's connected to what was mentioned during the first segment about that key to opportunity. What are your thoughts about that? Mr. Mable or
Sure.
Chief Petty Officer Brown?
I've served in the Coast Guard for 19 years now, so I have met numerous retirees and members who just did maybe one enlistment and then separated. And what I've found is that sometimes it's hard for them to key in on what their next step is going to be. There has been some difficulty obtaining the information when they transition, whether it be through Veterans Affairs or from their previous service, on how they can begin to take advantage of their GI Bill. And so what I end up doing is directing them to the educational institution or university that they're interested in attending, because a lot of times they already have a platform in place to get those members going to utilize their benefits.
That sounds excellent, and of course you're in a position to be able to help facilitate that as Director of Career and Job Placement Services for HCC, Mr. Mable. So tell us about that.
So first, my own personal experience with using the GI Bill, I left the Marines, and it took me 7 years to take advantage of it. I think for a lot of veterans, life happens. There are many things that are going on in someone's life, and they forget about this benefit. It literally took me 7 years because I found that I had only 3 years left to use it, and so I really enrolled in college in my mid-20s, and the rest is history. I finished both my bachelor's and master's within 5 years. Nowadays, with the economy becoming more automated, a lot of jobs requiring technical skill sets, it's very important for our veterans to use that benefit to gain the skill that they need in the classroom for career services to then take the next step with them to ensure they're connected with employers.
So with the online college and the online degrees and certificates that are offered through HCC, this offers an opportunity. Do you have very many members of the Coast Guard who are enrolled, active duty members, who are enrolled online perchance with HCC?
Doctor, I definitely would like to see an increase in that number. Recently, we have seen an upward trend of members taking advantage of a program that we offer called tuition assistance.
Yes.
Which is funds set aside for each individual member to choose a university, enroll and begin taking classes, no cost to the member. And then we also offer the grants that can subsidize book fees, registration fees, things of that nature. We also offer great opportunities for officer programs. So attending a 2-year college such as HCC that might connect directly to a transfer to an approved university, as long as that member can accomplish their 4-year bachelor's degree within those remaining 2 years, they can get a direct commission opportunity.
Well, you know, that's so interesting because it seems as though the structure of the military in and of itself kind of provides that incentive.
Absolutely.
That if you want a promotion, then of course you need to get a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, et cetera, to be considered. So is it that some of the personnel are not so interested in that? And I hate to paint with this broad brush, but what have you found to be the case there? Mr. Mable, any thoughts about that?
You know, it's also going to depend on the unit. Obviously, the branch of military that person joins, whether there's time allotted for them to pursue an education. I know in the Marines, it was up to my CO, and we were focused on getting ready for operations, so we weren't able to do that. But I think it's just really, it comes down to the unit and whether they allow the service members to pursue their education.
Certainly. And of course, both of you are very, very impressive gentlemen. You're very successful. You served our country well, and you are still serving our country well. What are you doing in order to prepare the active members to at least think about it? Because obviously for both of you, the military influenced your educational trajectory. So what are your thoughts about that?
Yes, Doctor. Even prior to me, I'm currently a recruiter here locally in the Houston area, but even prior I was taking advantage of our opportunities, taking online classes even off the coast of Honduras or Colombia on my vessel that was deployed, doing drug interdiction and migrant interdiction during my off time. If units have internet, units have the ability to allow their members to further their education. And it coincides, like you mentioned, because personal development is just as important as professional development. And what we find is that sometimes our members get so caught up in just the advancement process of their service, they forget to also invest in themselves and take a class here or there working towards that degree completion. So what we've done is we go to various units around. We advocate for them to start taking classes, because as they advance professionally, once they hit a minimal amount of credit hours, they're good to go.
Well, this is excellent, and there are benefits for the family members as well.
Absolutely.
So we thank you both for joining us on this segment. Chief Petty Officer Brown, Mr. Mable, thank you both. When we come back, we're going to talk about the family and how the family can benefit from the veterans' duty in the military. Stay with us.
HCC. So many classes, so little tuition. Register today at hccs.edu/now.
I've seen people's lives change just by attending a class at HCC.
Some of them might not have the financial means to go to a four-year university. That doesn't make them any less quote-unquote smart than the kids who go to a four-year school.
HCC is easy to get to. It's easy to apply and easy to become a part of.
It gave me so much confidence.
Once you finish your 2 years there, you can transition into a four-year university or go into the workforce.
It's affordable, it's accessible, it changes lives.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Credential Up Houston. We're talking today to individuals who have served and continue to serve our country extraordinarily well in the military as well as in retirement in the various positions that they currently hold. I am so delighted to welcome to our program Mr. Kenneth Hernandez, United States Navy, retired. Ms. Linda Koffel, United States Navy, retired, and Dr. Stephen Hall, who is the Air Force, retired. Thank you so very, very much for joining us. All of you really achieved great success in the military, ranking officers. And now you are serving in very, very important positions at the Houston Community College. And I've worked with Dr. Hernandez and Ms. Koffel for a number of years, and now have the pleasure of working with Dr. Hall. And so I'd like to find out from you, having served in the military, several things. Number one, how did the family, your families, benefit from military service? Because I understand that that's a great benefit that you achieve as well. So, Dean Hernandez.
Well, one of the things that they benefited was for my service, the financial benefits that some of them had received. When you're in the service, depending on the theater that you're at, there's hazmat additional pay, there's a separation pay besides your regular pay. And of course, depending on the individual, there could be additional either flight pay or it could be sea pay. So they received some additional finances, which immediately helps them during the separation period to take care of the household. As well, that we, through the government, will be allowed to have a deduction in our mortgage rate. So that also helps as well, too. Meanwhile, they've been receiving all the time support from the particular service that the member is associated with. whether it's contact information, medical benefits, support, anything that they possibly can. The service does try to take care of the families back home. So that's been very, very welcomed.
Of course, and of course, being in the Navy is Koffel, female, obviously. Your experience was also very, very rich and enriching. So that positions you to have another level of sensitivity as you work with the retired females who come in from various branches of the military. What do you notice in working very closely with the females who have retired or who are active duty than for the males? And perhaps there are no differences whatsoever.
I would say one of the big things is that whether male or female veterans, they're concerned about their family, and if they have to be, going off on operations and they have to leave their family stateside, that's always a big concern. And I wouldn't say that it's any different for fellas that go away than females that go away that have children, but I would say that, culturally, the woman is usually considered more responsible for the care of the children, and it's very disconcerting for people when they have to leave their children. And so I think the military really does try to make sure, especially today, that there's communications, that there's support for the children, that whichever parent is left stateside with the children gets the benefit of being able to communicate. There's a lot better communications, and also provides for the children for education and other things while the people are off doing their service.
And you achieved the rank of lieutenant in the Navy as well, which is really quite commendable. And I presume that you are, of course, a role model for so many other young people who aspire to achieve that rank and then to move on into a civilian life eventually, where they can also be successful. So education is really very important as we look at that key that unlocks the door, as you referenced. Tell us a little bit about Dante's and how we can now make that happen, because both Dean Hernandez and Dean Koffel are associated with the business program, which is really flourishing and provides many opportunities for the students who go to our traditional campuses and even taking courses online. So tell us about that.
Dante's is a great program, particularly as it provides access to testing and that sort of thing to kind of build out a military member's educational acumen. But there are a number of programs. You have the spouse program of MyCAA, which is a $4,000 scholarship for active duty spouses to be able to leverage in what they call transferable or portable degrees and certificates. So that's an aspect of a career while the other military member is serving that they can take advantage of. You also have military tuition assistance that is provided to the active duty member itself. I think one of the added benefits to this, sometimes it's not considered as tangible, is I met my wife, a fairy tale story. Met her, it was love at first sight. She was military and actually outranked me. So I got the bonus. But part of that is that the children, our children, all three of them I'm greatly proud of, all made the decision to join the military as well. So when we say military family, we're looking at a much larger aspect of that. And the benefits to that sometimes that you don't see is the resiliency, the strength, camaraderie, and the bonds and each one of them have pursued their education as well, either through military tuition assistance or the GI Bill, which is now transferable so that an active duty member upon at some point in time in their transition can actually give those benefits to the spouse or the dependent.
Well, this is really a very good information to have. And as we scale up institutionally with respect to fully online, this is information that others will have as well to provide that support to students who contact them about enrolling in our programs. We thank you so very, very much. Time goes so very quickly when we're discussing topics like this, but we'll invite you back again. Thank you very much, Dean Hernandez, Dean Koffel, Dr. Hall. And of course, we will go to our next segment and we will have the audience participation. So we ask you to stay with us because we have a live audience. Some of the members, including the active duty service persons as well. So we'll look forward to talking to them, and we hope that you will join us when we come back.
HCC. So many locations, so little tuition. Register today at hccs.edu/now.
We have academic programs that help students get from high school into a university. And the data is very clear that students that take the path of a community college finish in far higher numbers than students that start straight into a university experience. Our students can achieve a baccalaureate degree in multiple fields from the universities in the area without ever leaving Houston Community College.
Welcome back to Credential Up Houston. We will go to our studio audience now for questions and comments. And the questions will be fielded by Todd Duplantis, who is the director of HCC TV. Todd?
Well, Dr. Ford Fisher, we have a lot of questions from our audience members. We'll get right to it with Tim, and you have a comment and a question.
Yes, Todd. And I want to say thank you to Dr. Hall. He's actually the person that encouraged me to set some great educational goals, so I really appreciate that. And now I'm in a position to help out other veterans. And as I'm out and about in the greater Houston area, so many of our veterans are entering the workforce, and as non-traditional students, their schedules can't handle that carrying capacity of a regular stringent schedule. What else do you have for hybrid classes?
Well, we have many classes and many programs that offer both the option of the hybrid course, which is 50% face-to-face in class and the other 50% online. But we are growing in numbers as far as the programs that are totally online for the veteran or any other student. These are convenient because one can take them at home. One does not have to travel. The exams are also online with maybe one or two exceptions of different programs. And I see a growing trend in that respect of offering more convenience type of programs. And there are some right now that can be completed in even just one semester. So we do have a lot of concern for providing these different options for students.
Our next question is going to come from Tanya, and you have a question for the panelists.
Yes, we've heard a lot today about using VA educational benefits, but I'm wondering how can HCC help veterans and military-affiliated students who have exhausted benefits?
Well, I can answer a little bit about that one. First of all, if a veteran joined or got out of the military in Texas, they're probably eligible for the Hazelwood Act. And in addition to that, HCC provides a number of, they have grants, they have scholarships. There are numerous scholarships every semester that go unclaimed because nobody goes and asks for them, and all they have to do is ask for the money. So it's really a matter of getting the right information so that they can claim those grants and those scholarships.
Joining me now is James with our final question. You have a question for Dr. Ford and Dr. Ford Fisher and the panelists?
Yes. How can veterans and military-assisted affiliated student success in HCC Online promote the stackable credentials here at HCC?
Well, I'll answer that and be happy to do so. Stackable credentials really are, in fact, one of the ways to encourage students to work towards success. And they're able to work towards success because they have the entry and the exit points that they can look at the gratification that comes from earning maybe 15 semester credit hours toward a degree, but with a certificate that will then allow them to go to work. And then they can come back and take the next 15 semester credit hours as they progress toward earning the complete associate's degree. So those stackable credentials are critically important, and that's what business and industry also will be looking at. So we thank you so very, very much for those questions. They were indeed excellent. I'd like to thank the studio audience, Todd Duplantis, HCC TV, and we'd like for you to recognize our veterans and always remember to credential up. And as you do, check out our HCCS website and our telephone number for HCC Online, 713-718-5275. Thank you so very much for joining us.